So, I'm a 23-year-old female. I live in a townhouse with my 2 children, 2 and 6 months old. My fiancé did live with us until 2 weeks ago, when I caught him trying to fuck another woman and made him move out. That's important to the story. I'm a stay-at-home mum, and when he did live with us, my ex used to work evenings. Let me set the scene. We live in a tiny town in northern Pennsylvania. My line of townhouses sits in front of a big field that runs into a line of woods. As far as I'm aware, these woods stretch out for at least a few miles, and I'm not aware of any houses in there or any roads that lead through them. My living room has 3 windows that look to the field, and my bedroom on the 2nd floor only has 1 window that faces that way as well. People do tend to walk their dogs in the back field, and kids sometimes play back there, but I rarely ever see anyone close to my house. For that reason, I tend to leave my blinds and curtains open. I guess I just enjoy the view. So in July of 2019, I was laying in bed trying to fall asleep. All the lights were off, but my window and blinds were open since it was warm. I was looking out of the window and noticed some red and white lights just outside. I got up and looked to realise the lights were coming from a drone. I ran downstairs to where my fiancé of the time was sitting in the living room and ran to the window. I told him what I saw, but of course he went to look and it was gone. I was paranoid that the drone could have had a camera on it and someone was watching me with it. I kept my blinds closed for a while after that. Fast forward to January of this year. I guess I, stupidly, got comfortable and assumed that whoever was flying the drone was a one-time creep. My blinds were open and I had just gotten out of the shower. I was sitting on my bed pretty much naked except for my underwear, scrolling on my phone when out of the corner of my eye I saw lights again out of the dark window. It was that damn drone again. I ran out of the room and waited for a few minutes. I peeked back into my room and it was gone. I quickly shut my blinds and got dressed. Honestly, I felt sick at how stupid I was to leave my window open again, especially when I was practically naked. Now for the really disturbing part. My 2-year-old son and I were out in the field 2 weeks ago, 3 days after I kicked my boyfriend out, playing ball. I had my 6-month-old strapped to me in a baby carrier. Probably about half an hour after we had been out there, I heard a slight whirring noise coming towards us. I looked up and saw that damn drone flying towards us. I looked around and didn't see anyone. It stopped right over us. I freaked and grabbed my son and dragged him into the house, looking back to the tree line every so often as we went. I knew they had to be hiding in there. I went inside, closed the blinds and called my mum and told her about the situation. She told me just to keep an eye out. I said I would. My son likes to line his toys up along the windowsills, so I figured it wouldn't hurt to open them just an inch or so. A while later, after we ate dinner and it was almost dark, I was feeding my 6-month-old and my son was playing. He was standing over by the window lining up his toys. He started saying, "Dada, Dada." I assumed he was just missing his father and I dismissed him by saying he would see him at the weekend. He kept saying, "Dada, Dada," though. I looked up and saw him pointing at the window. Under the little gap the blinds didn't cover. I froze. I remembered that he calls any man with facial hair Dada, because it reminds him of his father. But there was no way someone would be bold enough to actually come up to my window, not when my neighbours are literally right there. Anyone could see them. But there aren't any lights back there, so unless someone actually stepped out of their houses, I guess no one would see them. Maybe it was my ex. But he should be at work at that time. I ran to the window and moved my son. I didn't want to lift the blinds, but honestly, I was sure it had to be the person who had been creeping on me for the past year, and I wanted to see who it was. I pushed the blinds up and was looking at a man who I had definitely never seen before crouching in front of me. He was bald with a moustache and a goatee. I had no idea how old he was. He could have been anywhere from 30 to 50. When he saw me, he smiled and stood up. I yelled at him and told him to fuck off when I was calling the cops. He just stood there, smiling at me like some freak. I was about to close the blinds again when he said something I couldn't hear. I told him to leave again and he said, louder this time, "I just want to talk to you." I shook my head no and yelled the same thing to him. He started slapping his hands on the window, yelling, "No, no, no, over and over." I grabbed my phone, scared he was going to try and break in, and dialed 911. My kids were crying from the yelling and I felt on the verge of tears. I told the operator what was going on. The whole time I was on this phone, this man was just pounding on my window, screaming now. He was yelling all kinds of nonsense and I only caught some of it. He said he'd been watching me for months. I'm beautiful. He wants me to come with him. He'd kill my children if I don't. The operator told me to go to my upstairs room and hide until the police arrived. My town doesn't have a police department, so we rely on the state police. She said it would be about 20 minutes, but to stay on the phone with her. The man was practically punching my windows in now, and I was screaming like a maniac. I was about to grab my kids and run upstairs when I heard someone else screaming. The man bolted. I looked out and saw my neighbour and his girlfriend. I opened the window and my neighbour said that he heard the man, so he ran around the building. He said when the guy heard him, he ran back into the woods and disappeared into the tree line. They said they also called the police. I thanked him 100 times. The police arrived 10 minutes later. They did a quick search around the building and in the trees, but obviously didn't find anything. I've been super paranoid since then and stayed at my parents' a few nights after it happened. I don't know why that guy targeted me, or why he waited so long to do something. I'm just happy my neighbours were there to intervene, or who knows what would have happened. So, to the creep who has been stalking me and my family for the last year, I genuinely hope we never meet again.